As you might have noticed by now, the Nginx configuration syntax closely resembles that of a programming language, implementing in some ways the concept of scope, includes, and, in this lesson, variables and conditionals. Variables exist in two forms: variables we set ourselves and Nginx's own built-in variables. We can find a list of these Nginx variables in the nginx.org documentation, Alphabetical Index of Variables, which lists each of the available variables with the module that makes it available. Modules like http_core and http:/log already being part of Nginx, so you don't have to manually add them. Now, these native variables can be extremely useful, so let's switch back to that configuration file and see how we could use them. I'll clear all of these locations from the previous lesson, create a new location for /inspect, and in this location simply return a few of these Nginx variables. Return status 200, a string, and using double quotation marks we can directly embed variables into this response string. First one I'll add is the host variable, variables being prefixed with a $sign. Add a new line character, the URI, new line, and args, which is the request's query string. Save this and reload the configuration. Navigate to that new location, /inspect, and we see each variable on its own line. The host, which is the server IP as I'm not using a domain name, and the request URI, /inspect. Of course, we didn't pass a query string, so the args variable is empty. But if I add query name equals Ray, that's now also returned, albeit in its complete string form. We can, however, use a variation of the args variable to get individual query parameters. I'll change this string to name arg_name. So, based on the query string, Nginx compiles a named variable for each parameter, prefixed with arg. Save and reload this. Reload, and this time we get the value of the name parameter. So, already a very powerful feature set of Nginx. Nginx also allows us to perform basic conditionals, or if statements, which most commonly will be used in conjunction with one of these variables. Before I demonstrate, however, note that the use of Nginx conditionals inside location contexts is highly discouraged, as this can lead to some very unexpected behavior. Now, the technicalities of this is beyond the scope of what we can cover here, but if you'd like to read more on the subject, I've linked to a very detailed explanation in the lesson resources. Right, so outside of this location context then, I'll create a conditional, which for the sake of demonstrating, checks a hypothetical API key. If, with braces, note the space between the if and the braces being required for the syntax to be valid, arg_API key, so checking the value of the API key query parameter, not equal to 1234. Meaning if the user does not pass the value 1234 as the API key parameter in the query string to any URI, return a 401, which is the unauthorized status code, incorrect API key. Save this. Reload without that API parameter key, this time just requesting the root URI, so that demo site, and we're denied, as per that conditional. Add the API key parameter, however, with a value of 1234, and we're served index.html, as the conditional did not evaluate to true. The image and style sheet simply being missing as the internal requests for those didn't include the API key parameter. Okay, as I mentioned, we can also set our own variables within the Nginx configuration. I'll get rid of all this, and to create a new variable we can say set the variable name, I'll make this weekend, and the variable value, no. So no equal sign, just the standard Nginx director format. Variables can be set to simple strings, such as this example, integers or booleans, true and false. Then, for another hypothetical use case, we can check if it is weekend by creating an if statement and using the date_local Nginx variable. This variable holding an ISO datetime string for the local time. And instead of a simple equals or not equals operator, we can use a regular expression as with location contexts. Tilde, checking on this variable for Saturday or Sunday. In which case, if this is true, set weekend to yes. So starting out, we set weekend to be no. Check the local date to see if it is in fact Saturday or Sunday, which if it is, we change the value of weekend to be yes. Change this location to isWeekend, returning 200 and the weekend variable, so yes or no. Save and reload the configuration. Navigate to that URI, is_weekend, and it being a Monday at the time of recording this, we get no. Change the condition to check for Monday instead then. I'll rename this variable to mon and set the location to isMonday. Reload. Navigate to isMonday. And this time we get yes, as this conditional evaluated to true and updated the variable to be yes. In the next lesson, we'll use some of these variables to learn about rewrites and redirects.